Hi, I'm Bryant, tutoring high school biology. Today's topic, the skeletal and muscular systems. Let's start with the skeletal. The skeletal system is, well, your skeleton. It supports the body. Without it, you pretty much deflate. It protects your internal organs. Think ribcage. You won't want to get punched directly in the heart. It also stores minerals, which helps the bones be strong to begin with anyway. And also, some bones will form red blood cells. This is when they have red marrow in the center. Some of them have yellow marrow. That's something else. Those store fat cells. Alright, now let's take a look at a cross-section of bone. Here's the outside, here's proceeding inwards. On the outside we have a thick connective tissue called the periosteum. This is pretty much protective. Next up we have some compact bone. This is very densely packed bone, and it's fairly strong. But in it run these things called haversian canals, which allow veins and arteries to pass through the bone, which will be important because bone cells, they're living. They need blood as well. And finally we get the spongy bone, which is actually a lattice work and is not very spongy at all. It's in fact quite tough and quite durable. See, the lattice work that makes it look like a sponge actually gives it a bit of extra strength. But yes, spongy bone. Now I'm also going to talk about the types of joints. Four main types: ball and socket, hinge, pivot, and saddle. And I can demonstrate pretty much all of them with my arm. Alright, starting off with a ball and socket. This looks like, well, a ball and a socket. Right up here. I can rotate my arm like so. 3 different directions, 1, 2, 3. Alright, next up the hinge joint. Well, this acts a lot like a hinge. The elbow, forwards and backwards. Pretty much it. Alright, pivot joint. This allows for rotation only. If you put your arm vertically like this, you realize you can rotate it backwards and forwards. That's a pivot joint. And finally the saddle joint. This is the wrist. Unlike the ball and socket joint, this allows for 4 ways of rotation. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yes, those are the different types of joints. Onwards, the muscular system. Alright, well, the muscular system works very closely with the skeletal system. In fact, there's these things called skeletal muscles. Well, they're muscles attached to the skeleton, of course. Another word for this is striated muscle. Why? Well, they have these bands of alternating light and darkness. Those are striations, hence striated muscle. Skeletal muscle, it's attached to bones, and it's what, well, you think of most of the time when you think of muscles. The attachment is known as a tendon. Alright, there's also smooth muscle. This does not have alternating bands of light and darkness. This appears in a lot of internal organs, things like the stomach, that need to do a lot of movement, but generally involuntary control for smooth muscle. And finally, there's cardiac muscle. This is found in only one place, the heart. And, well, it's heart muscle. It's striated, does a lot of work. Now, let's actually look a bit closer at the cellular mechanism of the muscle. We have these two things, actin and myosin filaments. And they're pretty much what allow the muscle to contract and expand. Myosin is attached to actin, kind of like this. What will happen is, you'll apply some ATP, and myosin will actually rebond to actin at a different site. This pulls actin in a bit closer, forcing a contraction. Then you can apply ATP and relax it in much the same way. And that's how muscles work. Alright, to recap, the skeletal system supports the body, protects internal organs, stores minerals, and forms blood cells out of red marrow. It can also store fat cells as yellow marrow. The outside of a bone is covered by periosteum, which is a strong connective tissue. Next, going inside the bone, you have compact bone, which is very dense. However, it has haversian canals, which allow veins and arteries to run through. After that, you have spongy bone, which is a lattice in the bone that actually provides extra strength. The different types of joints are ball and socket, which acts like a ball and socket, allowing 3 different ways of rotation, a hinge joint, only back and forth motion, pivot joint, which allows rotation, and finally the saddle joint, 4 different ways of rotation. The muscular system is made up of, well, muscles. 3 types: the skeletal muscle, which is attached to bones, the smooth muscle, which is found in internal organs such as the stomach, and the cardiac muscle, which is found only in the heart. Muscle contraction is performed by actin and myosin filaments in the muscle. Myosin is attached to actin. By applying ATP, one can reattach myosin at a different point in actin and bring the 2 close together or bring them further apart. Alright, that's all for now. Again, I'm Bryant. See you next time.